Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are watching from this planet. We are coming to you guys with some breaking news from Seoul in South Korea, as the arrest of President Yoon is imminent. This is the second attempt following the martial law that was obviously announced and declared by the president a few weeks ago. Things are kicking off as we speak. I'm going to be slightly all over the place because we're getting all the latest information live as it's coming in, and it's changing every couple of minutes. Obviously, the police have sent their police officers to the presidential palace. The military initially has been resisting because obviously the military serves the president. Then the military unit actually gave the green light to the police to go inside the palace, but the presidential palace security have now blocked entry. They are now entering the palace anyway. We got the pro-President Yoon protesters, the conservative side, outside the palace protesting, trying to save the president. It's not going too well. We're going to give you guys all the information, and of course the actual arrest is imminent any moment now. Let's see if they're going to succeed. Obviously, I've got my feed ready as well. Let's start because they said at 5 a.m. local time, which was a few hours ago, they were going to, a couple hours ago, they said they're going to make the actual arrests. And we had initially hundreds of protesters who were actually removed from outside the palace early on. But that kind of backfired on the police because those couple of hundred people that were there, they told their friends and family. Now thousands of people are outside the palace trying to save the president, obviously from the more conservative right-wing side of South Korea. And obviously the left-wing party is completely endorsing the arrest of the president because obviously when a few weeks ago when he decided to declare martial law based on the fact that he said we got communist elements causing chaos without actually providing any evidence. That kind of backfired on the president. Now we have the standoff. So this is the latest videos that we have for you guys. The first one is the actual standoff going on in outside the palace. So yeah, that was the initial standoff over the last couple of hours. The clash, of course, the face-off between the police and the military and the protesters, obviously. The protesters were also trying to defend the palace. Things obviously then kicked off. So over 2,000 South Korean police officers have arrived in front of the presidential residence, facing over 200 well-armed military units. So this is obviously about half an hour ago. When this update came out, a lot of people were worried, bloodshed or potential clashes. But actually, that same military unit have now decided to stand down. So they gave the green light to the police to go inside. It's the presidential security, the palace security, who are now resisting. But we have an update on that over the last couple of minutes. More drama has already happened. Also, more protesters are arriving outside the presidential palace. We have the second video for you guys coming from Seoul. Let's quickly go to that one as well. So all this, in case obviously you're not aware of the latest developments in South Korean politics, was, as we said, when the president decided to randomly declare martial law, that was his excuse was that communist elements from North Korea are infiltrating. The reality was there was a massive clash and row in parliament over the budget and other political matters as well. The left-wing leaders, they're not angels either, because they're also being investigated over corruption. So it's been a messed up situation where the president has basically crossed the boundaries by declaring martial law. The other side are a bunch of criminals. It's been a lose-lose situation for a lot of people in South Korea. But now the supporters of the president and the conservative side have come out. The first few days, they wanted him gone. And now they're saying, actually, no, let's keep him. Because obviously with the latest developments, okay, it's all kicking off now again. Chaos out the gate of the palace as the police are trying, again, more police officers are trying to enter. Let's quickly go to this clip as well. It's definitely getting heated. Obviously, the supporters of the president are not really happy about this. It's for them, it's not really just about President Yoon. It's also the fundamentals of their republic, essentially. So they are slightly concerned about what could happen to the others as well. But again, the declaration of martial law was a little bit OTT at the time, despite what anybody would say. We do have an update now, ladies and gentlemen. The military obviously has given the green light, as I said. Presidential Security Service quickly shut that down, reminding everyone that the military can't approve entry and that their approval is still required. Having said that, we can now confirm that the police have entered the palace regardless. We have confirmation that they have been using bolt cutters and ladders, and I'm trying to see if there are other things they are carrying. We have a video quickly for this actually. They've gone past 2 security lines already. I think they're at the 3rd security line because obviously they've been creating a number of barriers. Let's go to the video.
집행을 먼저 하려고 할 수 있다라는 이야기가 나오고 있습니다.
예, 알겠습니다. 지금 보시고 계신 모습은 공수처와 경찰이 1차 저지선을
So these are the public prosecution office officials who have now entered the palace. So these are the investigators who the police have helped to go inside the palace to arrest the president. We are waiting to see, because the arrest could be imminent at this point. It might have already happened, but this is the 2nd attempt to arrest President Yoon in recent days. It's not really healthy for the stability, obviously, of this South Korean economy and everything else being going on. Financial markets have been affected, especially at the time, a few weeks ago. But we are just waiting for more information over the next few minutes. Let's get some reaction from you guys. Shahada says, what did he do? Well, he declared martial law about a month ago because he said that there were elements of North Korean communists who infiltrated the system, but the government and everybody else. But there wasn't enough evidence for that. So he was the president was impeached by the parliamentarians in South Korea. Now they're trying to arrest him. It's supposed to be a healthy democracy. Deborah says, poor South Korea. It's only been a democracy since 27 years, and it may soon be over. The thing is, the American influence is still there. So the American influence will not allow South Korea to become a full-on dictatorship. Even if that means they will have to temporarily support the left-wing side, which is never a good idea. But the priority is to protect the republic and the democracy. Yeah, Mel says this retard still hasn't resigned after staging a coup. He's a little bit unhinged. I mean, I generally I liked his policies. I mean, he's more conservative minded. He's more pro free market, generally speaking. But you declared martial law without any evidence of communist infiltration, and then you lost. Then you had to make a U-turn. You got impeached. And you're still not resigning. Imagine if that were a left-wing leader. Everybody would kick off. And he happens to be conservative-leaning, so it seems like there's more sympathy towards him. It's not fair. It's double standards. I don't really care if you're right-wing or left-wing. Resign. It's too late now. Anyway, What's going on? You only feel hate. Where's hate? Because that's how you feel about yourself. I don't hate you. I think you're funny. Wait, are you talking about me or someone else? I'm very confused about this. Katie says, I have South Korean friends. Yep. James says, 2025 starting off great. I know. To be fair, this started before 2025. This started towards the end of December. Actually, it was mid-December. It's been a month. And he still hasn't resigned. It's so embarrassing. So bad. Super chat from Frank saying, so which one is the globalist implant? Well, the president himself is an internationalist. He's a friend of the West. Not necessarily a puppet in that sense, but the left will call him basically a puppet, but he's not. The president was actually a good, generally speaking, the government was stable until what happened recently. But and his party, the PPP, it's a good party. It's a good center-right, pro-free market party. The left is not the Democrat side. They're not your friends. They are not the good guys. Lucy Chung says, I am Korean, British, and following the situation closely, I support the president. Thank you very much, Lucy Chung, for your contribution as well. Yes, the president has a lot of supporters, especially obviously outside the palace right now. Because at the end of the day, it's also about his legacy. Despite the fact that what's been going on over the last few weeks it's been unhinged. But in his defense, there was a bit of a coup situation internally against him anyway. He knew they were coming for him. I'm not really sure declaring martial law was the wise choice, but it doesn't really undermine the Conservative Party in general, the PPP. All right, so let me just see if we have any more confirmation. Why is this not reloading? That's great, isn't it? Everything's going well. All right, so David Denley says that it will be like this, trying to get Starmer out of number 10. He will be screaming and yelling like a spoiled kid. I really hope if the arrest actually happens over the next few minutes, I mean, it's a second attempt, the first one didn't go well, the president shows some dignity. I really hope he does that. He's generally been a good man, politically speaking at least. Super chat from RG saying, am I the only person in this world who wants to live in peace? I think so, yeah. Everybody else wants chaos, apparently. What the actual F is going on in the world? Are people just bored and can't stand stability and peace? Now, I think people become more paranoid. So a relevant period of peace and stability. And we're talking about democracies. In democracies, we still have corruption. We get it. We still have people who cheat the system. But it's still technically liberal democracy. The problem with this is that we don't necessarily have wars in our countries. We don't really have full-on conflicts in our countries, right? And that includes South Korea. That includes Australia, Canada, France, right? We have massive problems internally, and it's building up. But the problem with that is that when you don't feel an imminent external threat. So, for example, Israel and Israelis are good because the Israelis are always on their toes because they know all around them there are people who want to kill them. So that kind of keeps you on. It's not healthy. It's not a good. It's not a nice thing. But it's the same thing that we always say humanity, or we always need competition or rivalry. I mean, this is more of a toxic version of it, that Israel basically has enemies every second, but it keeps them on their toes. In liberal democracies, relevant stability and peace, despite corruption, people become more paranoid, and people trying to find more enemies. You know, in the 20th century, we had obviously, towards the late 20th century, we had Soviet Union. So everybody was like, okay, it's capitalism versus communism. Let's stay together. Whether you're liberal or conservative, let's stay together. That was the narrative. Now, there's a problem because people are trying to find problems. And they're not actually addressing the real problems that we have in all our countries. You know, we got problems there. The veterans are not being treated well in most of the countries, liberal democracies. We got a lot of issues with multiculturalism, crime. Instead of actually addressing the real problems, everybody is paranoid. And that includes party political people. So the Labour Party are treating the Conservative Party in the UK as an enemy. The Democrat side, the treating the PPP in South Korea as an enemy. The Tories in the UK treat Reform UK as an enemy. It's all enemies instead of actual rivalry. There's no respect anymore when it comes to party politics. So back in the day, it used to be the Americans versus Soviet Union, or the West versus basically Soviet commies. That's the enemy. Political parties were slightly more respectful, but not anymore. I mean, the whole thing is completely chaotic, where we're having fights amongst ourselves, and you can see what's going on in South Korea. Leftist loonies are trying to rise up for communism. The thing is that there has been some elements of, which is really weird. They don't really declare themselves as communists, but for those who are familiar with South Korean politics, they, in the name of being social democrats, they basically want to turn South Korea into a proper socialist country, which is, it's nonsense. Your neighbor right up there, the North Korean side, can show you it doesn't work. It's not a good idea. But you have some idiots who've been brainwashed. Obviously, you still have North Korean spies everywhere as well. Okay, so the arrest has not actually happened yet, which is it's a good sign, I guess. Yes, we haven't. Okay, there we go. We have an update, ladies and gentlemen. Ongoing second arrest of the impeached South Korean president. The police, as well as the Public Investigation Office, Prosecution Office investigators, are now walking down the main driveway of the presidential residence. We don't know if the arrest warrant has been successfully executed yet, but we can actually confirm. Actually, we have the latest video actually coming in now. So if I could, yeah, it's coming in now, I think. I can show you a map actually to make it slightly more understandable. There we go. So this might help. So essentially, what it is that the large group of the police officers still trying to breach the third line of defense. This is obviously the presidential palace security team creating three different lines, at least three lines of defense. The military unit is now obviously still protecting the president as well, even though initially one of the military units said you can come in, but they were stopped. They said your job is to protect the president. Obviously, the arrows you can see, the residence is up there. They're going through that. The third line of defense has not been breached yet, but we have another short video. More of these people are now going in. Hang on. We can actually put this on the screen for you guys. So the first video, well, the latest video we showed you was this one, which showed that the people actually, the investigators going in with ladders and bolt cutters, right? This one. And then the second one I'm going to show you. Look at the change in terms of the number of people going.
집행을 먼저 하려고 할 수 있다라는 이야기가 나오고 있습니다.
예, 알겠습니다. 지금
먼저 밖으로 나가기도 했다라는 현장 전원이 있습니다. 지금 1차 집행 때와는 달리 경호처의 집단 저지 움직임은 없어 보이는데요. 그렇다면
Well, there's a huge crowd now, so the investigators are being escorted by the police on the main driveway, and yes, so yeah, the arrest has not happened yet. We'll have to wait for any updates. The president refuses to surrender. Anyway, let's see. Someone said North Korea will be dealt with soon. They want to merge them. Moves are being made on the chessboard. Well, let's see how President Trump will be dealing with the Kim family now. So, and the psycho sister of Kim Jong-un. She's a little bit crazy. Fat Cat says North Korean education exists. Well, yeah, of course. My take that his president was fed the wrong info and he acted in good faith. My instinct says the same. My instinct is actually with Fat Cat, because historically, when you look at the track record of President Yoon and his party and his government, he didn't seem to be a crazy man. And when he was making the speech to declare martial law, it didn't seem like someone who just lost it. My instinct says, like Fat Cat, that he was fed the wrong info, either intentionally or unintentionally. And because he did it in a very calm manner, and it did seem like he did it in good faith. It was a crazy move to declare martial law emergency, but if he actually believed that there is an imminent threat from the communists, fair. But again, all the other stuff was happening at the same time with the disagreements over the budget. So YTN is now reporting from South Korea that the president will exit his compound shortly, as the police will seek to execute an arrest warrant. So I think the president might actually come out voluntarily now, but again, this is according to YTN. We'll wait to see what he might do. It might still take an hour or so. I don't know what's going to happen here. So if that's correct, then that means perhaps the president would be arrested, but then he wants to defend himself. Now, going to the party leader, by the way, the PPP leader, Kwon Song-dong, said that if blood spills during the next arrest attempt, which is now, it's on the Democratic Party-controlled CIO and the Seoul police. He's also right, because I get the urgency because the impeachment has already happened, but there is no need for violence, and so far there has not been any bloodshed. So the protesters have been dealt with relatively by the police, but not using guns or anything like that, because South Korea is still a civilized country. But the PPP leader is also correct that you can't just go around in the name of arresting the president to cause more mayhem, because the stability of the democracy is still important. Now, Lucy also says, Lucy Chung, martial law was called to gain evidence of illegal election from Electoral Commission. Yeah, that was a part of the statement. The issue with this is there are other mechanisms that you can and you should always use before creating a curfew for people to not be on the streets. You can actually call into a proper investigation into the electoral system. But I can easily see a situation where essentially the far left were there, and they always try to do treason, and it is treason, but at the same time there are different measures that you can take. What is going on? CCD says, I will now put my bid in for South Korean president. I will bring change because I'm an old white guy and American. I think Americans have done enough in Korea. So but yeah, I mean the president's the push to arrest the president is being done by the opposition party. That's basically it. The establishment are being controlled by the left, and we know that Democratic Party. I don't understand why these left-wing parties should all be called Democratic Party. None of them are democratic. They don't believe in democracy, whether it's in South Korea or in the United States. Stop calling them Democrats. But obviously, the push is going to be sending him to court. So if he actually comes out tonight, this morning, obviously, in South Korea, and voluntarily gets arrested, so that means he's going to be defending himself in court. The drama is going to continue for another few months at least. Now, as long as the judiciary and the trial is fair, then fine. But if that's going to be rigged as well, then it's not really it's not a good situation for the president and of course the supporters of the presidents, because that's one big chunk of the country, the PPP supporters, the conservative leaning side, who for them the whole system will be undermined. That is not good for the democracy. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we will have to wait to see what happens over the next few minutes and hours, whether the president will come out to be arrested or whether they're going to go in to drag him out, which is a little bit barbaric. We'll come back, obviously, probably at this point, a few hours from now. I'll probably need a nap. And I'll give you guys the latest update on what's going on in South Korea. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Maya Tusi, and we are the media.